Welcome to Rise Beyond Limits, where every story ignites your inner strength and inspires you to never give up. Glowing Star, the Lightkeeper, the man who kept the light. Soft piano begins. Sounds of waves and wind in the background. On the edge of the rocky Maine coastline stood an old lighthouse, tall, lonely, and covered in salt from the endless sea. Inside it lived a man named Elliot Gray, a 68-year-old keeper of the light. For 35 years, he had watched the tides rise and fall, storms come and go, ships appear and disappear into the horizon. Every night, at exactly 7, Elliot climbed the narrow spiral stairs, 147 steps, to reach the top, carrying an oil lamp in his hand. He would clean the glass, adjust the lens, and light the beacon that could be seen 10 miles out at sea. But the world had changed. Technology had taken over. The coast now had automatic lights, radar systems, GPS, and satellites. And people told him, "Elliot, you don't need to keep that lighthouse anymore. It's old, unnecessary." But Elliot just smiled and said quietly, "Maybe. But as long as there's a sea, there should be a light." Soft wind intensifies. One December night, a fierce snowstorm rolled in from the Atlantic. Winds howled like wolves. Waves smashed against the cliffs. The town's power went out, blackout. Communication lines were dead. Even the Coast Guard lost signal. Elliot stood by his window, staring into the darkness. And then, without hesitation, he grabbed his coat, his lamp, and began climbing those 147 steps again, step by step, his knees trembling with every move. The old light mechanism was frozen, rusted from the cold. But Elliot refused to stop. He struck a match. Once. Twice. Finally, the flame caught. He turned the crank with all his strength, and the great lens began to rotate, slowly spreading its warm golden light through the storm. Out there in the distance, beyond the roaring sea, a ship had lost its bearings. The crew couldn't see land. Their instruments had failed. Panic filled the air, until one sailor shouted, "Wait! There! I see a light!" That faint glow, barely cutting through the snow, guided them back toward the harbor. Back to safety. Music softens emotional tone. By dawn, the storm had passed. Elliot stood at the lighthouse balcony, his hands trembling, watching the calm morning sea. He didn't know yet that he had saved an entire crew that night. Later that day, the captain came to see him, eyes filled with gratitude. "Sir, if it wasn't for your light, we wouldn't be here. Thank you." Elliot just smiled, his weathered face glowing in the sun. "That's what the light's for," he said. A week later, the town council met. They had planned to shut down the lighthouse permanently, but after that night, they changed their minds. Instead, they restored it. And by the door, they placed a small bronze plaque dedicated to Elliot Gray, the man who kept the light burning, even when the world thought it didn't need it anymore. Elliot passed away a few years later, quietly, in his sleep. But every night, the lighthouse still shines over the Maine coast, its beams sweeping across the ocean, steady and strong. And if you ever visit on a calm evening, some say you can still hear his voice in the wind. As long as there's darkness, someone must keep the light. Dizzy moral of the story. Sometimes the world may move on and forget your worth. But purpose isn't given, it's chosen. Even the smallest light can guide someone home. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope today's story brought you a little bit of positivity and motivation to keep moving forward on your own journey. If you found it meaningful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to spread the inspiration to more people. Rainbow.